What's going on, guys? It is Livid Frey. Hope you guys are all doing very well today. Today we are going to be talking about blueprints. I'm going to make sure that this video is going to be linked in all future video descriptions for the vendor reset, because I found myself talking too much about the blueprints during the vendor reset videos, and really I should only be prioritizing blueprints that are a must-have. So today this video is just going to be covering kind of blueprints in general. The blueprints in the division let you craft powerful weapons, gear, and mods, but not all of them are worth buying. Some of them are must-haves, and those ones will be covered in the vendor resets, while others are more of a waste of precious resources and currency. So we're going to be breaking down exactly which blueprints you should buy, which ones really aren't so worth it, and when you should actually be buying blueprints. So without further delay, let's get right into that. So where can you actually find blueprints? The easiest way to get them is just to progress through the game. As you play, you'll start to earn blueprints from side missions, main missions, and like side encounters. Other times you can find them are at the blueprint vendors that are inside the terminal and in Camp Clinton. Additionally, the Dark Zone safe house vendors actually sell blueprints as you level up. I don't typically recommend buying these because the currency for the Dark Zone vendors, or the Dark Zone currency, is just too valuable. I would rather you save that up for like really good weapons that we get later. It would suck to spend like all of your Dark Zone credits on something that you're like never going to use really. You should instead save that for the end game when we get like really good weapons for sale, because the weapons are very expensive and Dark Zone credits are very, very slow earning. So when should you actually buy the blueprints? Definitely not while leveling up. I wouldn't recommend buying any kind of blueprints while you're leveling up. I would just save this for the end game, because the main reason why I always recommend this is because the gear that you're wearing at like level 9 is going to be worthless at like level 11 or 12, because you're just going to keep leveling up and the older gear is not going to make sense anymore. So I wouldn't recommend buying blueprints at lower levels. I really just wouldn't, unless you're in a situation where there's like none of the vendors are selling the item that you need and there is a blueprint available for it that matches your level, or at least comes close to it. And if you're still wearing like a level 2 holster or something and you're level 10 now and you still can't find an upgrade, in that case you could then craft one. I would not think that you would find yourself in a situation like that though, because the gear is so abundant at those levels that you shouldn't have any issues. So to put it pretty much in like as simple as terms as I can, when should you actually buy blueprints? When you hit level 30 and gear score 256. This is when I think that you should start buying blueprints that are worth it. Avoid gear set blueprints like at all costs. They're honestly worthless. When they came out with like the latest patch in the game, 1.8.3, or rather 1.8 when they released classified gear sets, the actual gear sets are like, they're worthless now. Everybody's running classified gear, unfortunately. You can definitely use gear sets to kind of like get a hold of the game's mechanics and things like that, but I would never ever recommend buying blueprints for them, because it's never going to be a 256 item. It's only going to be like a really low gear score, and I just would not recommend it. Save your credits, don't buy them. Additionally, I would recommend just prioritizing all Phoenix credits and Dark Zone credits for gear and weapons, and then after that you can buy blueprints. However, there are some blueprints that I do think is worth buying just right away because they're cheap and very valuable and essential for most builds. So what are your like what to buy must-have blueprints? The most important part is like which blueprints are actually worth buying in the game. The key takeaways from this are going to be the lightweight M4 is like the absolute king blueprint in the game. See it, buy it. Additionally, MG5, MP5, MP7, these are all really worth buying. Generally, any gear score 256 plus weapon blueprint are always useful, so I would always recommend buying them. But these are the ones that I'm saying, like if you see them, buy them because they're worth having. The lightweight M4 being the absolute highest on the list. Make sure you buy this anytime it's for sale. It's going to be the best weapon blueprint you can purchase in the game. Custom M44 is a close second. You can craft these for pretty much any kind of build and make it worth it, as well as the MG5 LMG, MP5, and MP7 SMGs. So like I said, any gear score 256 weapon I recommend, but these are the top key targets that you'll want to be purchasing when they come through. Additionally, there's gear that is very worth buying, starting off with the backpack. More importantly, the electronics backpack is really good for crafting your inventive backpacks when you need them, as well as Relentless. Chest pieces and gloves are really good to be buying for pretty much all stats, but recommended firearms. For gloves, we're looking at Savage. For the chest piece, we're looking at things like Reckless. I don't generally recommend these, but they're somewhat of a priority, but they're very low on the priority list. Holster and knee pads. and the mask. I think the mask would actually be a little bit higher than holster and knee pads, but generally speaking, all of the high-end gear is worth buying. But when it comes to priority, it goes backpack, chest piece, gloves, mask, holster, knee pads. And then for the mod blueprints, item level 34, make sure you're paying attention to that item level number. Level 34 is technically like the highest bracket, and then it goes down from there. The weapons aren't going to show an item level, by the way. Those are going to be the gear score. So pretty much anything above gear score 256 is a good weapon. When it comes to the mods though, the firearm, stamina, and electronics mods, always useful, always cheap. Make sure you buy these, they're very good to be using. The performance mods are also great. Make sure you buy these, also very cheap and very useful. It allows you to craft those things like ally heal, sticky bomb damage, the support station healing speed, things like that. Make sure you guys buy those. For weapon mods, make sure we're looking at power level 33 to 34. I say 33 because not all really good weapon mods come in power level 34 variants. These are such as the black small grip, the VX1 scope, Omega rifle suppressor. All of these are capped at 33, only missing about 0.5% or so they're still worth buying. For those ones, as they come through in the vendor resets, I always recommend them. If it's like a item level 33 blueprint worth buying, I will be mentioning it in the vendor reset. Speaking of lower level blueprints, let's talk about some of like the lower gear score blueprints that are actually useful for pretty niche builds. Starting off with gear score 204 weapons, a lot of these are really useful for tactician builds because it unlocks the talent requirements a lot easier. So there are some weapon talents that actually work for your skill damage. A big one being destructive, ferocious, those two both work. Also, predatory has like a lower weapon requirement at a lower gear score, so those ones are generally worth using for things like tactician. The low-leveled sawed-off shotgun sidearm is useful for more specifically striker builds when you can get some stacks for extra damage to use predatory, sustained, and determined on those. And finally, lower-leveled snipers are useful, again, for tactician builds, but also for even sentry builds, as well as reclaimer to unlock things like cool-headed, determined, all those things on different kinds of builds. So generally speaking, what are some blueprints to avoid? Like I was mentioning before, gear set blueprints are a big no-no. Don't buy them. Don't waste your time. The only thing that gear set blueprints are good for, and in this case you only need one of the blueprints, doesn't matter which one, is if you are weekly, for the weekly assignment is to convert fabric, and if you are maxed out on fabric, you can then go and craft a gear set item because it costs more fabric to craft, and then you'll have some space to actually pick more fabric up. So that's the only case where these gear set blueprints are necessary. Additionally, underlevel blueprints that are like below item level 34, again, if they're not capped out at 33, I generally don't recommend buying these unless they are on the list of items mentioned earlier. So finally, to summarize, wait until you reach level 30 and gear score 256 before buying blueprints, and make sure you're prioritizing the main essentials first: weapons, gear, mods, and then after this, buy blueprints. Make sure to buy level 34 blueprints again when possible, and then avoid Dark Zone blueprints just to save your credits for another day. Make sure to check the video description for the weekly vendor reset link so you guys can take a look at the spreadsheet that we use to update the community on what's new this week. Additionally, I will be leaving a link for the reset timer so you guys can save that for your resources. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you later.